Hey guys, it's Tyler from Tyler Has Words. I'd like to do something different today. I would like to talk about books, New York, newspapers, book reviews, and literary criticism. So I think I'm going for the record here on the most unimportant and pretentious web blog cast ever. I'd like to talk about a book called The Corrections that came out in 2001. As usual, I'm on the ball and current. I think it was released like 2 days before September 11th. I'll show you a picture of the book right here. I read it. It's super good. It's a really complicated, like novel type book with artsy stuff, and it has points to make. So it's not your typical whodunit or romance novel type deal. I'm gonna quit holding it. A lot to say about society, where we're going, where we've been, scathing looks and critiques at interpersonal relationships. It's mostly about family though. That's why I liked it. It's about a dysfunctional family, which I think is a redundant term. I just think all families are dysfunctional. The whole plot is for the matriarch to get the family all back in town, back in the Midwest. Everybody's kind of spread out. It's a mom, aging and sick father, and their 3 children who are now grown. And mom wants them all back for one more Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. They're all really messed up people. I think it's a wonderful look at insecurity. It's probably the best novel I've ever read about human insecurity. Because every person in this family is completely different than the next, and they're all insecure. They're all equally insecure for completely different reasons, and I love that. It is a really hard book to get into. After like 20 pages, I was like, what am I reading? I mean, I kind of could see that there was some social commentary going on here, but I was like, I need some plot, I need some story. It does a really good job of mixing those two up. This won the National Book Award, which I hear is a important award for people that write. I don't know. I don't keep up with these things, and I don't know anything about this author. I don't care. There's people that like care about authors and want to be involved in that world. I think writers are probably the biggest douchebags in the world, so I know that because I've written many books now. So anyways, this book's about insecurity. Speaking of pretentious and insecure, I looked at a New York Times article on this book. I like the New York Times. I subscribed for many years. They have good writers, and what could be more agonizingly self-important than a book review in the New York Times about a book that was written for people that read the New York Times. Here we go. As much as I want to balk at the, nose up, probably weird eyeglass wearing guy that wrote this article in the New York Times, David Gates, the article is called American Gothic. It's about the corrections. You know what? For me being a, hayseed schmuck from Texas, and this guy being a cultured, snobby New York Times writer, we have pretty much the same takeaway from this book, which is it's hard to get into, but once you do, it's awesome. How the guys, Franzen's great at wordplay, and this guy in the New York Times says he's really good at wordplay. I'll get into that in a second. I mean, he really is a great writer, just of being able to shove words together in really melodic musical ways that evoke feelings and really get at the heart of what the characters are thinking. These characters are probably the most flushed out characters I've read in a while. That's why you like them, because you know where they're coming from. It's important. So even though they're stupid, messed up, and like I said, insecure, and it's I think I said it on one time on a video that the best way to be a friend to somebody or make friends is to tell them your how crappy you are. I think the best way to make people like your characters is to tell them, let the reader know the characters own like bad thoughts about themselves. We can relate to people that are insecure, pathetic, and feel crappy about themselves all the time, because that's most of everybody, except people that say they feel good, and those people probably feel worse than everybody else. Okay, what else does New York Times guy have to say? This jerk from New York City. Wordplay worthy of Nabokov. That's pretty big. It creates illusion of giving a complete account of the world, and while we're under its enchantment, it temporarily eclipses whatever else we may have read. Wow, that's pretty big praise. It temporarily eclipses whatever else we may have read. So, wow. It means when you're in it, you're in it. And I couldn't agree more. And I think he says in this article that if you don't like the characters in this book, as unlikable as they can be, then you don't like people. And I think that me and New York Times snob guy are completely on board with this. So, check it out. American Gothic. It's an article about a book written by a guy that reads books for a living, I guess. I don't know much about this world because I take most of my time to actually write books, and then 7 to 9 people read them. So let's do a demonstration of Franzen's wordplay. Chip's probably the most ridiculous character in the book. He's the younger son, so he's the middle kid, but there's two boys and one girl. Like my family, 2 boys, 1 girl. I have a sister and a brother. Okay, Chip. So maybe I'm the Chip of this book. If you read it, don't ever make that connection. Chip was struck by the... Okay, so this is about economics, but really, I don't care about economics, and I don't care what you think about economics. This is just... It's just kind of the way he writes, anyway. So Chip's over in Eastern Europe, and he's a writer. He's an academic, which, as we all know, academics and writers are the greatest people on planet Earth. Here we go. Chip was struck by the broad similarities between black market Lithuania and free market America. In both countries, wealth was concentrated in the hands of a few. Any meaningful distinction between private and public sectors had disappeared. Captains of commerce lived in a ceaseless anxiety that drove them to expand their empires ruthlessly. Ordinary citizens lived in ceaseless fear of being fired and ceaseless confusion about which powerful private interest owned which formerly public institution on any given day. And the economy was fueled largely by the elite's insatiable demand for luxury. In Vilnius, by November of that dismal autumn, 5 criminal oligarchs were responsible for employing thousands of carpenters, bricklayers, craftsmen, cooks, prostitutes, barkeeps, auto mechanics, and bodyguards. The main difference between America and Lithuania, as far as Chip could see, was that in America the wealthy few subdued the unwealthy many by means of mind-numbing and soul-killing entertainments and gadgetry and pharmaceuticals. Whereas in Lithuania, the powerful few subdued the unpowerful many by threatening violence. I love that. It warmed Chip's Foucauldian heart. Foucault, the French philosopher, historical philosopher. It warmed his Foucauldian heart in a way to live in a land where property ownership and the control of public discourse were so obviously a matter of who had the guns. There's a lot of irony in that, and stupidity, and wonderful observation, and like hitting the mark but also missing the mark at the same time, which only a tattered brained academic could do. and somebody that thinks they're smart. Anyway, who is smart is the guy that wrote this book, because he takes life seriously, takes family seriously, and he also makes it ridiculous. It makes you really enjoy the characters. I would like to stress that the beginning is hard to do, and would also like to say that it's really strange that most good books and even good movies or good TV shows are hard to get into at first. Which means they're hard, like if I was writing this book, which I don't know if I've got the chops to write it, but if I did, it would be rejected. You could not get this book written. I don't know how. This guy probably wrote something before. Like I said, I don't know. But everything they tell you to do as a writer or a creator of anything, he doesn't do. There's no hook. You eventually get what's happening, and there is a plot. This isn't just like a void. But if you did, at least as far as I can see, they have to be hooked by page 1. I think that's probably true if you want to get a deal or you want to make something of yourself. But here's this book. It's in my hand. It won a book award, and it doesn't do any of that. It is ponderous at first and makes you grasp for reason, and then eventually it doesn't even have likable characters at first. I mean, you kind of see the nasty underbelly of these folks before you see the redemption of them, which is a good way to go. Usually, like, a lot of characters start here, then fall, and then come back. Here, it's just this insufferable Midwestern misery, and you're kind of ensconced in this world of cold, dreary hopelessness. And you know what? It's funny. Because, I mean, we could all choose to look at life that way. But in the end, I think what the book tells us is that family is super important, and each person in a family, it's amazing we can come from the same genetic pool and be completely different. And yet, when push comes to shove, family emergencies, family crisis, like that kind of stuff, we all bring our crazy, weird elixir of insanity and helpfulness to the proceedings. So if you're looking for a good read, a hefty read, something that challenges your worldview a little bit and makes you realize that the world is ridiculous, like you need any reminders, check out this book. And I will read the 2002 winner of the National Book Award next. And in 674 years, I will catch up to what is the current National Book Award. I don't have time for this. That's it.